Dusty.
Go for it, Karen.
I am grateful that Janet just told the world that there's so much more opportunities out there.
Hey, Karen, that's exactly right, team. Hey, how many of you know that the real estate game right now has got some challenges? Anybody? You feeling them? Okay. How many of you know that even though there may be less opportunity, it doesn't mean your opportunity is less? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Okay. The opportunities are out there. We just got to keep digging in. Okay. And I want everybody to write this down today because this has been heavy on my heart this week. All right. I want you to write it down. All right. Just because it's not working doesn't mean it's not working. Okay. Just because it's not working doesn't mean it's not working. All right. We've got to continue to get up every day, make the plays over and over and over again. And I promise you, okay, your efforts are working. We just got to make sure we stay the course. Okay. Great point, Karen. Somebody else this morning, a big win you had or something you want to share with everybody or something you're thankful for? Anybody?
I'll jump in.
Come
I had
on,
a
Craig.
chance to spend the weekend with my son at his last year in college before he graduates. And so we had a little father-son weekend with some bunch of other dads, and it was like phenomenal. Probably went too hard on Friday night, but it was like being in college again. Good times.
Come on, man. I love it. I love it. Man, I get to spend a lot of time with the guy who just spoke with Craig Wilburn, and what a guy who just leads the way in his life and his family and business. And thank you, Craig. Man, I love here spending some time with your son. Anybody else today? Anybody? Okay. You ready to go to work today? Everybody write down this word, write it down. Framework. Or you could just write frame. All right. I get the gift and honor to coach a lot of people all over the country. And if there's one area where I see that we have a challenge is around sometimes we don't start the right way. Are you with me on this? Okay. And so the whole point of today's call is making sure that we get the right frame, the right framework right up front in a number of areas. The first area we got to have the right framework around, team, is we got to have the right framework around how we think. You tracking with me on this? All right. Like I just said to you, hey, the opportunities out there are less, but that doesn't mean that my opportunity is less. That's a framework. Are you guys tracking with me on this? That means I got to get up every day and I'm in charge of the way that I think. Okay. So everybody write this down. You are where you are because of how you think. All right. So if your business is not where you desire for it to be, you got to stop and you got to think about how you're framing your business. Okay. If you're not creating enough listing opportunity and buyer opportunity, or maybe you're struggling around conversion. Okay. It all comes down, number one, to the way that we think about things. Okay. So like when you got up this morning, what was some of the first thoughts that went through your mind? That's a hypothetical question. Okay. You don't have to holler that out loud. All right. But maybe you got up this morning and your first thought was, I'm so tired. Right. Anybody think that this morning? Okay. Maybe you got up today and you started thinking about all the things that weren't going the way you want them to go. Okay. Hey, I'll be the first one to tell you. I had a little time this morning where I was sitting around going, man, there's some things that I don't like the way they're going. Okay. All right. Maybe you got up this morning and you started to think about all the things you have to get done, all the things that haven't been done yet. If we get up and our first thoughts are that, I think we're going to struggle throughout our day. You guys with me on this? Because we're just thinking about the things and about the stuff. And I want you to stop, pause, and reframe those thoughts. So the first thing I'm going to coach you on today is called reframing your thoughts. All right. Now, let me tell you the way I'm going to coach you on this. Okay. So I'm sure you can see this back here. Everybody see this? Everybody see this? Look at here. Look at what mama got me one time. Y'all see what that says? Behind every good kid is a great dad. Come on. Mama got me that. Now, you can see in there now there's a picture of me and my kiddos. They were a lot younger then. Okay. This little brother and sister growing up really, really fast. But let me tell you the story behind this frame. My bride bought me this right after the pandemic. Y'all remember the pandemic? Anybody remember? I don't know if y'all remember, but I remember. Right after the pandemic, we got to get back outside. Y'all remember that? And to my bride, what that meant was I get to go shopping. That's what it meant to my bride. She was like, I have not been shopping, and mama want to go shopping. So she went shopping and she came home and she had a lot of bags of stuff. Okay. And I was about to ask just how much stuff we needed. And then she pulled out my frame and she said, hey, I got you something. And I was like, okay. Now, I don't know if she got it because she was like, if I throw this in, maybe he won't look at the rest of the stuff. But I know there was a great heart behind it. She pulled it out. She said, hey, I got you something today. And I was so excited, man, because I looked at it and it said, behind every great kid, behind every good kid is a great dad, right? Well, here's the story. I took the frame. I went back upstairs. I was super busy that day and I set it on my desk. Okay. And I kept doing what I was doing. And day in and day out, I would come up to that same desk and I would do what I'm doing right now. And I would coach on Zoom. And I had this little picture frame right here that said, behind every good kid is a great dad. And about a year in, I was preparing for an event I was going to be speaking at, and I was going to be talking about what I'm talking about today, which is framing our thoughts. Okay. And I looked over at this beautiful frame my bride had bought me that day. Okay. And I looked in the frame and there was a problem. And I want to tell you what the problem was. And that is that when I looked in the frame, the picture in the frame was not my kids. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? Have you ever gone and bought a frame like at Michael's? I think this is where it came from, or Hobby Lobby. And they have the fake family in the frame. Have y'all ever done this? Okay. And everybody looks perfect and beautiful. And I looked at my frame and I realized that my frame didn't have my kids in it. It said, behind every good kid is a great dad, but they weren't my kids. Okay. So I ran downstairs to mom and I was like, we got to fix this. Like, these aren't even my children. Okay. And so she gave me the picture that now is in my frame, which quite frankly, I need to update because my son is about 6 foot taller than he is right now in this picture. Here's my point. Okay. I think some of us have frames today that the contents of that frame is not accurate. You tracking with me on this? What's in the frame is not reality. And let me tell you who's responsible for your frame and inside of your frame. Okay, ready? It's one word, you. You. There's no one else responsible for the frames of your life or for the frames of your business or for the frames of your relationship. You are 100% responsible for that. So everybody write this down. I get to choose my frame. Okay? My bride picked that specifically for me. She chose the frame. Now, the problem was I didn't change the contents of the frame. Write this down. I choose the contents of the frame. That's the purpose of a frame. The purpose of a frame is to do what? Hold the contents of what belongs in the frame. And here's what I'll tell you. I think a lot of us have the wrong frames and we have the wrong contents inside the frames. So I want you to think today about how you're thinking on a day-to-day basis, because you're the only one who gets to choose what goes in the frame. All right. If you don't like your frame today, you need to get a new one. Okay. If you don't like what's in the contents of your frame today, you need to reframe. Let me tell you how we reframe. Okay. How many of you have had a negative thought already today? Anybody? Yep. Some of you are lying. That's okay. That's cool. You can pretend. Okay. I guarantee you've had a negative thought in the last week. Here's how I want to teach you how to reframe things. I want you to take the negative thoughts that run into your mind that are leading your day, and I want you to write them down. So as you go through today and you go through tomorrow, as you have negative thoughts come to mind or excuses come to mind, things that are going to hold you back, I want you to write them down somewhere. Okay? And then at the end of the day today, I want you to pull out those negative thoughts, okay? Or maybe even right as you have it, and I want you to reframe it. You with me on this? I want you to reframe it and turn it into something that's actually going to work for you. Something that's actually going to work for you. So I want everybody right now on the call, I want you to write down one negative thing that you have in your head right now. I guarantee you there's something. It could be, hey, this market's too difficult. I can't get my listings under contract. I don't have any like whatever it is, there's something going through your mind today that is negative, and I just want you to write it down. Okay, can everybody do that? And then here's what I want you to do. I want you to take that thought and I want you to reframe it into a statement that works for you instead of against you. Okay? Take that statement and make sure that now it works for you instead of against you. And I just want to hear from one or two of you. I just want you to put your digital hand up or come off mute, and I want you to read exactly what you wrote, what the negative thought was, and then I want you to read how you reframed it. Let's hear from one or two of you. Tasha, go ahead.
Good morning, guys. I wrote, I will not be able to get this short sale and be able to put it on the market. And then I rewrote it and said, I will be able to help the Arroyos with this short sale and be able to put their home on the market.
There you go. Hey, and just framing the way that you say it, right, Tasha, automatically changes the way that you feel about it. Yes or no?
Yes, I'm ready to call them right now.
Okay, come on now. That's right. Your first phone call as soon as we get off is, hey, like this isn't not going to happen. I'm going to choose to make this happen. Okay,
Yes.
You track with me on this? Let me hear from one more. Somebody else. What'd you write down as your negative thought? And then how are you reframing it?
Hey, Dusty, I'll go.
Go for it.
All right, man. I wrote, I am fearful to connect with others. And I reframed it saying, I'm a fearless connector.
There we go. Listen to that. He just took the word fearful. Come on, Ryan Clegg. Took the word fearful, right? And turned it into what? Fearless. Okay? Which immediately in his mind, I promise you, team, this is the way that our minds work. Your mind only believes what you tell it. Okay? And if Ryan's walking around saying, man, I'm afraid, I'm fearful of reaching out, then can I tell you what he's going to be? Fearful. Because that's what his mind is telling him. And that's going to run through his body. It's going to run into his language. And just by changing that one word and going, hey, I'm a fearless connector and a fearless communicator, I guarantee you his energy level's automatically going to go up. Like literally you can change every single part of your being just by the way that you think. Okay, you guys tracking with me on this? All right. So this is your week. You get to pick the frame and you get to pick the contents. You tracking with me on this? All right. Okay, so that's part one. That's internal, right? Because if I'm going to externally show up the way that I want to show up, I've got to internally show up the way that I want to show up, right? So I got to have the right frame around how I think. Now I got to have the right frame around what I do, okay? So the bulk of everybody on here is in the real estate industry. I want to give you three big ideas that are going to help you frame the conversations that you're having with people. Going back to Ryan's point, how many times are we afraid of a conversation? And the reason we're afraid of it is we don't know how to have the conversation. You with me? Okay. I know it needs to be had. Like Tasha just said, hey, I'm worried this isn't going to work. And so if we're worried it's not going to work, then we're going to walk into the conversation worried. Okay. You with me on this? So I want to give you three main things that I want you to put down that's going to help you frame your conversations. Because when it comes to real estate, it is vitally important that you and I start the way we want to finish, okay? We've got to frame the conversation in the right way. Michael McCullough, who's on this call, they do a call every Thursday, he and Brent. One of the biggest things they talk about is framing a conversation when it comes to lead generation and then framing the conversation when it comes to lead conversion, framing the conversation when I sit down at someone's table to walk through their listing, or when I sit down at a buyer's meeting, right? I have to start with, how do I want to frame it? Okay. All right. So it starts with frame. And here's the 3 ideas I want to give you. Here's the first one. Everybody write it down. All conversion happens in conversation. All conversion happens in conversation. Okay. Everybody hear me. Your conversion does not happen over an email. Your conversion doesn't just happen over a text. Your conversion happens face to face, voice to voice, in how you have the conversation. Okay. And going on that, I want you to put this down too, along with this big idea, is that the conversation is the relationship. Okay. I can't have a relationship with someone if I'm not in conversation with that someone. All right. And I've got to be able to frame the conversation so that I know how to guide the conversation from beginning to end. Okay? You with me? So it all starts in how we frame it, how we put it together. So that's big idea number 1. All conversion happens in conversation. Here's big idea number 2. Write it down. Everybody ready? It's called proof over promise. If you want to win with people, okay, you have to put in the frame to them the proof of what you're telling them. Are you with me on this? Okay. A lot of times we miss because we're telling somebody, hey, here's what we're going to accomplish for you, but we don't have any proof to go with the promise. All right. Everybody hear me. We are in a market that you are going to have to prove your promise. Okay. It can't just be words that you say. You're going to have to prove what you are promising. Okay. How many of you are in a market where a seller still thinks they can get this much for their listing when they can only get this much for their listing? Anybody tracking with me? Okay. This is called the market we're in today. All right. If they believe they can get this for their listing, you have to come in and be able to explain the market is here, and you have to show them the proof. Then you can show them the promise of what you will do, because if we price the house right, what's going to happen? It's going to sell, right? Regardless of the market, it all comes down to that. So it ends up being proof over promise, okay? All of your marketing, I'm sure, is beautiful and attractive. It is irrelevant if you can't back it with proof. Okay. Did you hear how Janet started? She said, we just had the best 2 months we've ever had. Do you know what that is? Proof. So when they go into a listing appointment, they need to frame the conversation with what? Their proof, because proof is undeniable. You guys tracking with me on this? All right. That's the frame by which I want to have the conversation. Let me tell you how we've been able to do this over the course of the last few months in this market. Example, 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 proof over promise. Okay. And the conversation is the conversion. Here's the last one. Elegantly different is insanely delightful. Elegantly different is insanely delightful. Okay. Anybody have an idea of what that means? Let me hear from you. What do you think that means? There's no wrong answer. Elegantly different is insanely delightful. This is where y'all have to come off mute. Come on now.
Hey,
No
Dusty,
wrong answer.
I can try to chime in.
Go for
with
it.
an example.
Go for it, Anthony.
So I just picked up an expired listing last week over a Zoom call. And it was relatively easy to pick apart the marketing of the previous agent, iPhone photos. It's a duplex. They didn't put a lot of love and care into it, right? And then what I was able to demonstrate through screenshots is just how we market on social media and the overall views. And then in some of those, we have comparisons on our own properties, from Zillow views to our online ads, and the views and engagement that we get. So we are able to prove all of that. And then we obviously got the listing, and then I just sent them, the snippets of a couple pieces of our marketing. The listing goes live later this week. And they are extremely delighted, to use your word, with the love and care that we're putting into the marketing.
Hey, Anthony, that is a perfect example, guy. Did you guys hear what he just did? Okay. He didn't put the other agent down, right? Okay. Can I tell you something? That is never the job. Okay. It is never the job to put someone else down so that you can be lifted up. He just said, hey, we were able to look at the marketing that they had and then elegantly, without putting anybody down, go, well, hey, let us show you what? Big idea number 2, the proof of what we do and how we will market this for you and what we will do. Okay. And that's what we're talking about, right? Elegantly different. How else can we be different? Let's think about that for a second. Can I tell you one way you can be different? Just do what you say you're going to do. Okay. I found out my first 30 to 60 days in real estate that it didn't take much for me to stand out in real estate. I just had to do what I said I was going to do. Okay. That's elegantly different. Here's another elegantly different. Put their needs and wants above yours. Elegantly different. Don't be out to earn a commission. Be out to do what Anthony just talked about. Serve people well, lead people well, operate at the highest level possible because these people are entrusting such a massive thing to you. Okay. And start all the conversations right up front with the right framework. Okay. So here's the whole framework of how this works. All right. So would you write down the word frame? That's step 1. Okay. That we want to frame every conversation on the front end. All right. Keeping in mind that frame starts where? It starts with you before you ever walk into the conversation. All right. Ryan said earlier, I'm fearful of reaching out. Well, if Ryan walks in fearful, if that's his framework, then he's going to be fearful in front of them. Are you with me on this? Okay. So it starts with how I start, and then it goes to how am I going to frame the conversation? All right. And then it goes from frame. So everybody write frame. The second step is claim. Okay. The second step is claim. What Anthony just said is, we're going to make a claim to you. Here's how we do the marketing. Here's how we're going to show up for you. Are you with me? That's making a claim. All right. Now, if you make a claim, what do you have to have after the claim? You better have a follow through. I want you to write this word down. Write down validate. You frame it, you claim it, and then you validate your claim. Okay. What did Anthony say? He said, our people are very excited now, right? Delightfully excited. Why? Because the claim, he said, is actually what they're doing. They've validated it. That's proof over promise. I didn't just say I will do this. I executed on doing this. Okay. And then the fourth part of the conversation is transition. Okay. And where do we transition? We transition to what do we need to frame next? Okay, you guys with me on this? Is this helpful to everybody today? I'm going to get on a screen where I can see all of you now. I got to unpin myself. Okay, give me a few thoughts. Go for it.
I have a thought. Oh, hey, how you doing, Dusty?
Oh, good.
Hey.
How you doing?
I have a listing in Falls Church, near Tyson's, and it's a what is it? A Cape Cod, 15 something square foot. So I gave the client all the comps, and one home renovated sold for $790 with a basement, 2.5 bath, and I think it had like an extra bedroom, I think, but mine doesn't have. It's only 2 level with a 2 full bath, 4 bedroom, 2 bedrooms to the bottom level, and 2 on top. And this particular client, he's one of my doctors. So he claims that, I can get $899 and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I mean, I know location, but you're not going to get 899 based on comps because this other one sold in November for 790, and I'm like, it has the basement euros down.
Yeah.
So, and I told him I'm not going to smack my name on a listing just to say I have one, and I know in my mind it's not going to sell for that. I mean, yeah,
Okay.
location, location, location. So then he came to me and was like, okay, well, I meet you halfway. And he said 825. And I said, okay, I can deal with 825. We just put on the market. And he also listened to me to renovate, do a few renovation, new flooring, laminate flooring, kitchen, everything, paint.
Uh-huh.
So we finally got an offer from this young lady who actually grew up in the neighborhood, loved the home, even wrote a letter to buy this home, and they offered 800. And the agent said based on the comps. And I
Mhm.
agree with the agent, but the offer was great, and they accepted the offer. So, like I told them that, I understand that the other house, they keep saying the other house is ugly. It's like it doesn't look all that because it has the wiring around, but the inside looks great, and it's sold for 790. So, yeah. So
Ev-
sometimes you gotta have a conversation with these clients because to me, a lot of time agents will take listings and they don't know how to convert those listings to sell because the sellers always think they want to be in control, like they know it all. And I told that man, like,
Right.
I am not putting my name on no 899. This is a 1,500 square foot home. I don't care where it's located because no other this square foot is sold for this amount. You know what I mean? So it's
You're
just all about a
spot on,
conversation and let
Eve.
them know who's in control.
Everything you just said there. Well, and everything you just said there, Eve, is exactly what we talked about today, right? You set the
Mhm.
framework up front. It's proof over promise, right? Hey, just so y'all know, everybody else's house is ugly. I don't know if y'all know that or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody, like I'm only thinking about my house. It all comes down to how we frame the conversation, right? Making sure we show the proof over promise, making sure we're elegant in how we explain it, right? And it all comes down to our framework. All
Mhm.
right. I
And
love you guys.
they are
Bless you.
happy.
I got to run to my
Okay.
next
Thank you.
call. It's running
I
late.
can't wait to see you again.
Eve, I can't wait to see you. Bless you guys. I love you.
Okay. Thank you. Love
Okay.
you.
Start with the
Bye.
right frame today. Here we go. Start with the right frame.